What is up, geeks and geekettes? It's another episode of the Countdown City Geekcast. My name is Steady. Joining me on this episode is the man behind the magic. You know him as Joe Garcia.
Hey everybody. Hey, I'm glad to be back finally after a long hiatus. It feels good to be here talking, all sorts of geek stuff with you guys again.
Oh, we got a crazy show for everybody. If you're in the chat, say what's up. Say hi to everybody. The one and only Matty B. That guy over there.
There you go. I know that's a Miller Lite. Sounded like a Miller Lite.
Joe,
Sounded flat. That's what he
Joe,
means by
only
that.
Joe knows. It's got
Yeah,
to be a Miller Lite.
gotta be a Miller
Glad to be
Lite.
here. Peep the merch.
There you go.
And the guy that really knows what's up because he's at Big Hobbs every Wednesday. It's Big Mike.
What's up, guys? It's Big Mike, and we are barreling through 2022 Electric Boogaloo. It'll be my intro to the end of the year.
Yeah, we only go to Big Hops if Teddy's playing, man.
Oh,
Well, I started getting invited, and I was used for my brain for trivia, so it's cool. I'll take it.
There's Ted sipping on that. What is it? I know it's craft beer, like fine wine.
ooh, you
You gotta drink
almost
with the pinky
close.
up. You gotta drink it with the pinky up.
Here we go. Here we go. Watch. Mm.
I think it's
There
from
you
an
go.
Arizona brewery.
There you go. It's actually green tea tonight, Joe. Try now.
Man. I do
Trying
like the craft
to-
beer as well. I do like the craft beer as well. Full
There you
disclosure.
go. This is going to be a crazy, exciting show. We're going to be talking about several things. At the end of our show, we're going to be talking about the brand new Predator movie titled Prey. Hopefully, you've seen it. If not, we're going to start that review with a non-spoiler discussion. We're also going to be talking about the crazy headlines that came out this weekend. One of those by us, and you know which one we're probably talking about, the Esposito story. But first, we want to go ahead and recap the epic weekend that was the superhero car show and Comic Con. If you missed some of our videos or some of our photos, me, Maddie B, and my son AJ Nightwing, who many of you have seen on the show before, we all headed out to one of the largest, most organized, well run conventions in our city. We're very good friends with the promoters, and we were on a mission. We were sent on a mission from God to entertain the masses and celebrate everything that it is to mean that it is to be a geek in this universe. So we had a hefty goal, and it was to moderate nearly 10 panels over the weekend, speak to other guests, do interviews with celebrities, voice actors, meet with the fans, and just accomplish all this in a 4-day event. And we came, we saw, we conquered. Isn't that right, Matt?
I would certainly say so. And when you say we had a mission, we really did. The days leading up to the event, we were trying to plan in every way possible to make sure that we got something. And I knew that we would because we had planned and prepared. I just didn't know what it was going to be that big. I didn't expect that at all. And to go viral the way that it did and to be picked up by every outlet that you can imagine, even ones your grandparents would know, like, I don't know, Yahoo. Like once it goes that far, you've gone viral. And Ted, you did an incredible job. And it was good to be there to support you, but you were definitely the man of the hour, and I appreciated being there to see it all.
We can start wherever you guys want to start. I think we'll probably start with maybe the panels first. And I don't want to talk about every single little detail, but it started out with like Thursday. I had a panel with the Nasty Boys, and this is a panel I tried to get somebody from the WrestleCast. Mike will tell you. I
Yeah.
tried for days. I was like, let's get somebody from the WrestleCast because you guys deserve it. You would love the opportunity, and they would, the tag team would appreciate it.
Yeah.
Um, and the funny thing was, we weren't able to get anybody from the WrestleCast show. And then the funny thing was, Thursday afternoon, I go over to see them. Jerry and I already forget one of their names.
Brian Knobs.
Um, Brian and Jerry,
Jerry
the
Saxon,
real
Brian
names.
Knobs, yeah.
Yeah, we went over. I went over there to go say hi because I want to build some sort of rapport in a short amount of time.
Right.
And the meeting was great. And then the last thing they said to me was, "Just so you know, if nobody's over there, we're not going to do it." And my eyes got a little big, and I'm like, "Swell. All right, I'll see you in a little bit. I got some things to take care of." And I hauled my ass over there, and I'm like, "We need to make sure we've got a good crowd going." So we were doing announcements every 5 minutes before the panel led up to it. We got like our friends who were had booths and stuff. I mean, everybody wanted to be there, but we also like called our friends that were there, and we just want to make sure that everybody had a great time. Scotty's in the chat. You gentlemen are an inspiration. Keep strong. Go ahead and put that on the screen here. Scotty, who we're also going to be talking about a little bit later in the show, right after we talk about the convention. So, Scott, hope you get to see what we're going to
Hey, I
say
already like
about
Scotty
you later,
because
man.
he didn't call us old. He called us young gentlemen. Shout out, pointing to you, Ryan. I know you're watching.
So yeah, that was the first panel. Like that started off slightly weird, but once it started, it's if anybody's ever been in like I don't know if anybody's a athlete or whatever, I kind of feel like I go into tunnel vision, and all that matters is like the task at hand. And so I made sure the media team played their intro music to start it off right. I gave him a great intro, and for the first like 10 minutes, the two of them didn't even sit down. They were at the front of the stage, just started barking off like stories. And I'm like, this might go easier than I thought. So that's how the whole thing started. And I don't want to talk about every single one like I mentioned, but Matt, help me out with who we talked to. We had the
So
voice actors from My Hero Academia,
yeah, and two of them from Dragon Ball Z as well. So
right?
those are big voice actors. There's probably 1,000 different anime shows and movies that are accredited between the three of those voice actors. It was Cary Glass, Eric Vale, and I'm blanking on the other gentleman's name.
Aaron Roberts.
Aaron Roberts. That was a really good panel. That was kind of earlier in the day. Sometimes early in the days of those it could go different ways with panels because it depends on attendance, who's already there. And there was a good amount of people in that panel as well. You had Sam
Sailor
Roberts.
Moon and Sailor Moon and Sailor Mars,
Oh yeah, yeah.
Linda Ballantyne, and oof,
Car- uh,
I knew these. Katie Griffin,
yeah, because I always kept wanting to say Kathy Griffin.
John O'Hurley from the Dog Show, as well as Seinfeld.
Hmm.
Sam Jones, Flash Gordon himself, Brandon Routh, the Man of Steel. I know there's a few more in there that I'm missing. Oh, Burton Gilliam from Blazing Saddles.
The
And
legend, Bert and
the
Gilliam.
legend. And then I'm not sure that's everybody, but also the final one that we're probably going to talk about next is Giancarlo Esposito. Esposito. For
Esposito.
everybody out there in the internet, you pronounce his last name Esposito. I don't know
Eh,
who got it wrong the first time.
Esposito? How?
Esposito.
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 Esposito. Sort of
I
like
can't.
just let it roll. Just
I can't.
Esposito.
Esposito.
I'm sorry. I don't want to butcher his name, but he's a great actor.
I didn't want to butcher his name, so I made sure I said it exactly how he said it. Legacy Nerd, what's going on, guys? What's going on, sir? Glad you could join us, man.
So, Ted, were you able to get much out of him, or?
Oh,
That's what we're here to talk about. Probably next. And Maddie, also make sure that we talk about everything else that we did because I know you got a chance to talk to some folks, and we did a lot of other things. But let's talk about Giancarlo for a second. I had a secret weapon in my pocket. That sounds kind of weird. I had a secret weapon planned for Giancarlo's panel. I'm not sure if I told Matt what it was, but I did my research for everybody. I did my prep work. I had to watch some things right away, like Blazing Saddles. Haven't seen it in years, so I'm like, I gotta watch that again. My Hero Academia, I'm sorry to say, never seen it. I binge watched the first season and I kind of watched and read about the future seasons. So when you only have like 5 days to prepare, you do what you can, right? And so Esposito, I had a secret weapon, and that secret weapon was to not ask him anything that I knew he couldn't answer. I don't know why, but sometimes you go to a panel, you hear an interview, and it's the weirdest thing where an interviewer is going to ask a question you know can't be answered. You know they won't say anything. Why bother doing it? It's just weird and awkward, right? So I was going to ask him a question, not about any spoilers, not about any potential characters he's been discussing with either DC or Marvel, but I wanted to ask him, listen, bro, today, if I can grant you any character to play, doesn't matter if somebody's playing him today or not, who would you choose? Isn't that a great question? And doesn't that justify like a valid answer? And so Giancarlo, being the magnificent specimen he is, he went onto this very long, drawn out answer that
Do,
was
do you want to play the
impactful
video?
and powerful. I could do that. Yeah, I should do that.
Yeah, you should play the
But
video.
while I bring that up, I'll also say that he gave the answer which I was hoping for that he would do. Like I hope he would give an answer, and when he did it in such a way that I immediately knew A, that this was significant, and B, that if we put this out there, it's going to blow up immediately. So here, and I see you, Rob. Rob says, you are correct. The con this weekend was very well ran and the layout was very thought out. Said he had a great and engaging questions. Appreciate the love, sir. And Maddie, while I bring up the video, quickly talk about the Ghostbusters of SATX and what they were doing.
Yeah, so the Ghostbusters were out by the Ecto One that was at the car show portion of the con, and we're taking pictures with folks all day. And then afterwards, we had thrown kind of an unofficial after party at the Kung Fu Saloon. I don't know if you want to talk about that now, Ted, or later. Um,
Later.
but yeah, so they were out in full force, and there were some folks that weren't even a part of the SATX. There was some really good Ghostbuster cosplay at this con. I probably saw 10 to 11 really, really good, well put together stuff. Like not just your stock spirit stuff, like they had put some effort into it. And so that was really good to see and trying to network with those guys as well. And speaking on this Giancarlo moment that we're getting to, because I'm sitting right off to the stage because I'm talking with his handler because I was trying to get Ted an autograph after the thing. I was like, "Hey, do you think you can sign this thing for?" So I was talking to her, and then I heard him go on this rant, and he started to go into the Professor X thing, and there was an audible get, like when you can feel the air leave the room a little bit, and everyone's like, "Wait, what did he just say?" Because it was rumored for a while that he was talking to Marvel, and that had gone on for a minute, and we thought we would hear something about casting at San Diego Comic-Con, but for whatever reason that never happened. We got a lot of stuff out of San Diego Comic-Con, but that news never dropped. And for him to say what he's about to say at the superhero car show and Comic-Con in San Antonio is awesome. It's great for the city. It's great for that con. Obviously, it was good for the Geekcast too, but it's awesome to now it's a place you can drop news.
Yeah, that's basically the news that broke the internet. Teddy over
Yeah.
here getting those comments out of Giancarlo really, really made some waves. I mean, it just took off, man. That whole segment there went viral.
Hmm.
Okay, speaking of the segment, for everybody watching, if you haven't seen it yet, here's the moment. No matter where you've heard about this video, no matter where you've seen this video, it's either come from our TikTok page or you can tell somebody you know the guy who asked the question because this was, like I mentioned before, this was my secret weapon. Here is kind of cut a little close to the edge. Giancarlo Esposito talking about who he wants to play if given the choice.
So, I have not worked for Marvel yet. I've been in a room with.
I probably can figure out you guys cannot see anything yet. Hang on one second.
But we could see. We
We
just
can
can't
see.
hear it that well.
I was like, I'm trying to hit play, Ted. Nothing happens.
Yeah, it's the wrong one actually. Here you go. All right, play now.
So, I have not worked for Marvel yet. I've been in a room with them and talked to them. And to answer your question, I think what they do is on the lines of that mythological journey that Joe Campbell talked about, who happened to be a friend of George Lucas, that George Lucas put into his stories. They do the same thing. It is our dream and intention to save the world, our environment, to save the world from greedy corporations, to uplift the world and have leadership that thinks about us for the people, by the people, which means that those future leaders are in this room right now.
Amen.
Right? And so we want to inspire each other. We want to lift each other up, because what happens when that happens is then we actually do have a vision and a dream for a new world. Then we can actually start to reverse all the things that we have destroyed that will choke us if we don't change how we move through this universe. So, there's the talk of Magneto. There's the talk of Dr. Freeze.
Oh my.
There has been talk of, who else are they talking about over there?
Dr.
Oh,
Doom.
Doom.
Victor Von Doom.
Doom.
Yeah.
And there is Professor X.
Don't do this to us. Pick one.
Pick one. I'm going to go for something that is a little bit different.
Ooh.
I'm going to go and put it out in the universe that it is Professor X. On that dream. So
Yes, sir.
And
Yes, sir.
now that has dropped, I want to go to your comments about your secret weapon, and the question you asked to get him to start to say that was really important. I thought the most important question that you asked there, and the ballsiness, I'll say, to get up out of your chair and say pick one. That was the magic bullet, because you locked him into an answer. You could have just sat there and the whole internet would have just wondered between those four. I don't know who Dr. Freeze is, but I don't know if there is a Dr. I know there's a
Well,
Mr.
indeed,
Freeze at DC, but
there you can go. You can call him either one because he is a doctor in
He
DC
got an
Comics.
honorary degree from Gotham University, actually.
There you go. In Arkham
Um,
Asylum, he finished his doctorate.
but the moment you said, you got up out of your chair, you put your arm around him, and you said you locked him into an answer. You said pick one. If you wouldn't have said pick one, the news wouldn't have broke. You said
What-
pick one, and you locked him into an answer. I thought that was badass as shit. Sorry to cuss. I know it's a family program, but I was sitting over in my chair like he just told him to pick one.
It wasn't. It wasn't like that exactly. If we're gonna actually, I'm gonna drop the entire panel like tonight probably. And so what you're kind of missing is like this was him normal in the panel, like standing up, walking back and forth, talking like very passionately about different sort of themes and in stories and
Social,
social
political. Yeah.
issues, social issues and stuff. I mean, not he wasn't getting political. He was just talking about very basic human feelings and emotions and rights and stuff like that. So it wasn't political based, but all I'm trying to say is he was on fire from the get-go. I've been to dozens and dozens of conventions. I've seen a number of panels. I've been to Hall H at San Diego Comic-Con. I've never seen anybody like that before on a panel stage. Honest to God, that's the truth. Never seen somebody so on fire for a panel. So I was doing everything I could to try and match that and try and get on the train, the speeding bullet train that was Giancarlo. That that panel. So he says Professor X, the crowd goes crazy, and you can't tell on my face because I'm trying to be cool. Remember, tunnel vision, right? I'm trying to be cool. But the next thing that happens in the video, and you'll see it when the full panel comes out, is I yelled to the crowd, you heard it here first. Because I knew the gravity of what just happened. And I told Matt when I got off the stage, I was like, for like 45 minutes, that's how long the panel was, we were the exact center of the universe. Nothing in the geek world was bigger than what was happening right here. And I could feel it. The audience could feel it. Matt saw it in my eyes.
Yeah,
And
and
later
that's
on
why
that
it went
night,
top 10 worldwide.
yeah,
And
later on that
also,
night, we put that video out.
it was at number 8 in the world on Twitter is crazy. It was
Mhm.
we were beating the MLB. We were beating. There was a UFC fight going on. We were beating all of that,
I
and
think at that point, Maddie jumped out of his seat and said, Fred, Ted, did we just become best friends?"
yeah, no, it's but really after he got off the stage, we spent the next hour frantically trying to search through this 45-minute clip
Wow.
that we had recorded
Yeah,
of like, so we had to clip that down, and it was like nerve wracking. As I'm hitting like send on the TikTok, and like my hands are shaking. I'm like, dude, we got to get this thing out now because I was so scared that somebody in the crowd was also going to be recording a shorter video and would have already been able to get it out there.
Yeah, and like I said, we wanted to get it out because I knew what it was. Whether or not I don't know. If we had heard it and it was another panel from another moderator, I still would have said that is massive. Like I know how big that is. You're not supposed to give an answer that satisfying. I guess is a weird way to put it. Usually it's just like, I kind of don't want to talk about that or blah blah blah.
Especially with
But
Kevin Feige and
the
Marvel.
but I wasn't asking him like, hey, tell us what Kevin and you talked about. But
yeah.
it was still like as far as you could take it. But the key thing, if you caught in the video, is he said, I'm gonna put it out into the universe. For those of you if you believe in fate, you believe in destiny, you believe in manifesting your own destiny, if you have sort of any spiritual beliefs, putting things out there into the universe means you're actually trying to visualize these things happen. He's not only doing this because like, hey, that would kind of be a cool role to play. He's doing this because he wants to gain some sort of leverage, either literally or spiritually, to have this come true. If we find out in a year, 6 months, 2 years, he's cast as Charles Xavier, this actually might have been the first stepping stone. Marvel might have said, you know what, we're really not interested in it. And this might have been the thing that said, you know what, we saw that you went trending top 8 on Twitter, and you were number one story on Twitter in entertainment around the world. Maybe we should rethink this. And so this might actually be the seed that grows into something quite miraculous. I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
No, I definitely do. I mean, he said something because he wanted to go ahead and make it be known, you know, that this is what he was wanting to do. He has an interest. He's just putting the vibe out there. This was what he was doing up there on stage, and the reaction not just only from the fans that were there at the convention, but around the world, because let's be honest, this actually circulated everywhere. I'm sure that everybody else was just as excited. I mean, who wouldn't want to see him play
Yeah.
Professor X? And they even saw that on social media. They even showed renderings that fans already did of him and Professor X's wheelchair. So it's like, I mean, it was quick. So it caught fire pretty quick. What he was able to go ahead and convey up there on stage. So he knew what he was doing, ever the showman.
Mhm. And Ted, like I was messaging you last weekend after all that stuff came out. Um, Marvel itself is in a really interesting spot now that they're trying to put their old Fox characters back out into their MCU, and it's a lot of the characters we've seen so far have not had previous movie or TV iterations to compare against. Iron Man, Cap had something in the '70s we've talked about before, but the X-Men, all these ones coming in now, Blade have had previous incarnations that they're going to be compared to. And so I said, what better way to differentiate yourself with the character with a strong actor like Giancarlo Esposito? Not
Esposito.
that correct? There we go.
Exposed.
And you can see the presence in his answer. Like, you asked him about what he wanted to play, and he went on to this. Like, every time I rewatch it, you just get like hyped up about it because he's so. I mean, he just
Passionate.
commands that stage about it, and I think it would be a great character to still have a strong presence of Professor X, but differentiate yourself from Patrick Stewart and even McAvoy in the rebooted one.
Scott, still in the chat. Thank you for joining. Still, Scott he says, so I've had at least 3 feeds with over 5,000 comments referencing this interview. Same, brother. Legacy Nerd says, lady with the pink proton pack was cool. Do you know who that was, Matt? Was that
Uh,
Sharon?
yeah, I believe so.
Scott said, well said, Matt. Ted was on point. Gracias, senor. Legacy Nerd says, congrats on the success for this. I appreciate it, brother. And Sager 8114 says, Disney definitely paid attention after his performance as Moff Gideon on The Mandalorian. They're going to take him seriously. And here's what I got to say about this. And no, I'm not an expert. This is just my opinion. Two things, really. And Mike already touched on one of them. I asked him a simple question. Well, to me, I thought it was simple. It was simple enough to get an answer. I wasn't twisting his arm. I wasn't asking for anything I knew he would shoot down. So, part one of my answer is this: he was extremely passionate in his response. To go through and explain, the value of a hero's journey and what it means to him, and to go through all that before he even provided his answer, is extremely valuable and telling. How do you say no to an individual who's so eager to try and achieve something that great? And two, what I'll say about this is that Patrick Stewart is going to be the greatest Professor X ever. Like, you cannot imitate Patrick Stewart any shape, way, or form. In the same way that Heath Ledger's Joker is probably going to be the greatest Joker of all time, no way anybody's going to outdo Heath at what Heath did. So the only way to try and do another Joker, let's just say Joaquin Phoenix, is go a separate route where your target, your objective is completely different and you still achieve it in some way. Giancarlo can be an Xavier who is a little bit more of a gray character. Yes, he's on the good side. He plays on the good team. But we all know from comics, the animated series, the lore, that Xavier makes a lot of very difficult and somewhat morally gray choices throughout his life that affect his friends, people he calls his family, probably his enemies or the people who are now his enemies because of decisions he's made. So to have someone sort of portray that duality in a Charles Xavier, you need somebody like Giancarlo, who is a master in his craft. You could have that objective instead. Patrick Stewart's always going to be the greatest straightforward Professor X ever. But if you want to dabble in a Professor X who's sort of morally ambiguous, where you know he means well, but he's had to make a lot of dick decisions to get there, this is the guy you go with. And yeah, Charles Xavier has history in comics that you will probably have to retcon, but like Marvel's been retconning powers, origins, all the live long day, and so far it's worked out. So are we really going to just focus on that and deny ourselves what possibilities there are with putting such an incredible actor in the spotlight who's already shown he has the passion to do it? Um, or do we just keep depriving ourselves? That's what I think. Man, Manny from the Goods, he says, "Congratulations on this. Appreciate it, brother." And Rob says, "I know who had the pink proton pack. Who was it? Tell us." And Scott also says, "Well said, Ted. He did well all the way to the end." And Logan,
Talking about
yeah,
Patrick Stewart.
Stewart,
Yeah.
Logan, and also in Multiverse of Madness, like we got everything. There's nothing left for Stewart to do. Why tarnish his like legacy with bringing him back in any shape, way, or form? We've had him do everything. There's nothing else left for Stewart to do. I also, so that's all I can say about that. I also did a panel with Ross Marquand, which my favorite moment of that was somebody asked him to do the voice from Red Skull. And so for whatever reason, he looked at me and says, What are the name of your parents, Ted?" And I said, "They're Ted and Cindy." So he starts doing the Red Skull impression like he's about to offer me the soul stone. Okay? And he's looking at me, he's doing the voice, and he says, "Dead Galunga, son of Dead and Cindy, blah blah blah." And he's talking about give me the soul stone, and the cliff is right there. So I stood up like I was in a daze. I walked to the end of the stage like I was about to jump myself. And he broke character. He was like, "Don't do it, don't do it, don't do it." And the crowd loved it and they laughed their ass off. So it was just the entire weekend was fun. I did absolutely everything I could. I left it all on the stage. I got no sleep the whole damn thing, but it was totally worth it. I'm still recovering. But cheers to everybody who went. Cheers to everybody who had a blast. Cheers to Bob and Peggy, the entire staff, the media crew that was with us, April and Rosalind, who were the stage hands for the panel, who I didn't want to make their jobs any harder, so I did as much as I could and made sure they weren't pressured or worried about anything. If I was a jerk to them, then like what would be the point of that? So me and Matt were easy going with them, and we just told them like, look, all we need is some water. Just let us know if we're running late, and that's pretty much it. So yeah, they were wonderful. And then shout out to my son AJ who recorded most of the panels for us and was a trooper most of the time.
Well, it's a 15-year-old at a Comic Con. I mean, we
Yeah,
got as much out of him as you possibly can. That's for sure. Um, but yeah, it was an awesome time. It was just a good all around to be there, and definitely want to keep doing some more. When's the next one? Alamo?
Big Texas, I think,
Oh,
right?
the
we'll
Big
find
Texas.
out. We'll find out. If you saw the list from Rob,
Oh yeah,
there's like
it's packed.
there's so many things happening in the next few months that we're going to be going to. So we'll talk about each and every one of them. Matt,
Oh
any of the things you did, you spoke to some people too.
yeah, and real quick before I get into that, Scott also sent 530 stars on Facebook. So shout out Scott for sending over 530 stars. That's the way to be. You're my star. But yeah, I was able to speak with Chuck Huber, who, if there's any anime fans out there, he was the voice of Android 17 in Dragon Ball Z, and also Hiei in a show every anime fan should love is Yu Yu Hakusho. So he was a hero of mine. I was so excited to meet him because I love those shows, and he was so gracious. And during the interview, he was able to even do some of the voices of the characters, and just kept it short and sweet. But meeting him was really great. He gave me that he signed a picture for me and just handed it over. So that was really nice. And then I spoke with
Spencer
Spencer,
Wilding.
Spencer Wilding. Yeah, he liked the joke. I called him a tall drink of water and cracked him up. And actually, what's funny is later on
Who
in the
did he play? Who did he play? Come on.
Spencer Wilding. He was playing. He played Darth Vader. He's been in Harry Potter. He's been in Guardians of the Galaxy. Um, But yeah, so later on in the con, it was pretty funny because I was kind of coming back to the car show after leaving the Ewan McGregor panel, and Spencer Wilding was in there, and I didn't notice at first, but he put his hand on my shoulder and he said, "I hope you're thirsty," because I called him a tall drink of water. So that was just a cool moment, kind of surreal, but yeah, that's about it. Other than that, I was just running everywhere Ted needed me to go.
I mean, yeah, we try to cover as much of the content as possible. Panels were happening in two separate buildings, so we were trying to catch everything as much as we could. Shout out to Paul, who also joined us on one of the days and was helping us out. Yeah, that was pretty much everything. We took some photos with fans. Shout out to Con Culture, who ran the cosplay contest. Had over 70, 75 contestants. Ran the contest flawlessly. Everybody had a great time. The seats were completely full for that. Juan, he's a great guy. He's got a great team. So shout out to them. Shout out to the Goods. We saw Manny and Terrence from the Goods. Manny says had a blast up there, and he also says miss you, Joe. Aw, look at that. He misses you too, Manny.
Yeah, I do. I miss you, man.
Mike, Joe, any questions or anything else that you might have heard come out of the convention this weekend?
No, I mean the bombshell was what Giancarlo had to say. I think that's really what took precedence, and you know, um, was really happy, for everything that came to light there. I mean, wow, what a moment there, Ted. So really happy that that happened. Really, really was impressed and proud of you, man. I was like, man, look at my buddy Ted, man, up there doing his thing.
It was busiest week of my life. I said that on Insta the other day or today. Busiest week of my life. I 9 panels, had to do research, had to do prep work. Kind of I've been to a lot of these, right? So I kind of had a idea of what I wanted someone to talk about. I You don't want to hear crappy questions. You don't want to hear crappy conversations. You're entertaining 200 to 300 people, staring at you for 45 minutes. What's gonna keep them in those seats? So there's a lot of things you're trying to do. Above all, I'm trying to make sure the panel guest is comfortable and having a great time. And if he's comfortable or she's comfortable and having a great time, everybody in attendance watching is going to be having a great time. So that's kind of first goal, first and foremost. The second part of it is try and make it look easy, which it's not. I have my questions. The audience has given me a stack of questions. There's also people in line at a mic that want to ask other questions, and you're also listening to whatever your guest is talking about, and you want to make sure that you have a dialogue. It's not just like, give me an answer. Here's my next question. Give me an answer. Here's my next question. You still want to back and forth. You still want to respond to everything they're saying to make it sure that it's sort of organic in a way, because it just comes off extremely well if you do that and more engaging. So it's a lot of work. I'm not going to say it's easy. It's a ton of work. Anybody can do it. Just you got to, I think, work at it and give it some practice. But it's a lot of work. I'm glad I did it. I would do it again. Give me a little bit more time. I think it's not the fault of the organization by any means. People kept canceling, schedules get changed, so that happens all the time. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the next time because I can think of a few other guys that I think would also do this alongside me. So looking forward to the next one. Anything we leave out, Maddie?
No, I think that about sums it up. We came, we saw, we conquered, like you said.
Yeah. Again, biggest story of the weekend, arguably the biggest story of the year. We'll see what happens. But
Hey,
number one on Twitter, every major news source. I mean, call them out. The Direct, Collider, Complex, Yahoo,
IGN.
comicbook.com, IGN,
Soups on TikTok.
Soups on TikTok. Every big TikTok influencer, YouTuber. I gave shout outs to everybody who made sure they plugged the video, and a lot of them responded kindly. I mean, international. I said gracias to some of our fellow geeks in the Latin American countries that were posting it, and yeah, they ran with it. It's it's great to see because we've had so much negative news with some studios in
Some
recent weeks.
studios.
In some studios, we've had so much negative news with some studios. It's great to have fans talk about. I mean, look, not all fans responded positively, but it's just great to have fans discuss potentially positive news going forward. Matt, why don't you talk about? Oh, Mike had something to say. Mike,
I was just gonna say, Ted, I think this panel was bigger than the DC one at San Diego Comic Con. So
hey, I'm right there with you, buddy. I am right there with you. Holy
I
cow! I
mean,
need
there
to
was
follow
bigger
that
news
one
out
somehow.
of yours. So
That's true. Your panel with Giancarlo Esposito is hands down better than DC San Diego Comic Con announcements for sure.
I mean,
yeah,
they didn't go number one on Twitter.
No.
no.
The biggest news out of their panel was when The Rock said like it depends on who's playing Superman, and like everybody hated that, and
Yeah.
so he got total crap for that from like half the fans. But still,
Yeah.
like that was their biggest news, and it's like DC, not DC, Warner Brothers, they're the ones that hopefully are now going to figure it out. It's not just a numbers game. Marvel somewhere somebody understood the psychological aspect of marketing and and persuasion. I don't really know. There's a psychological like game to all this. You need leverage anywhere you can get it. Warner Brothers has never figured this out. Warner Brothers is just like, let's make good movies. But if you have like 30 bad stories coming out of your like production and stuff leading up to your release, that's hurting your bottom line when that movie drops. They haven't figured this out. Marvel, most of the time, has been able to keep their cards close to their chest, minimize the negative impact of things that come out to the press. I mean, you can't really name too many bad things. Even when directors leave a production like Edgar Wright, who's an incredible director, when he left the first Ant-Man movie, there wasn't like a major backlash from it because they knew how to like kind of spin it towards just like, oh, we came to a thing we couldn't decide on, and he wanted to go his separate ways, and so we let him go. They can manage, they can mitigate the risk. It's what it is. Marvel knows how to mitigate the risk. Warner Brothers, no clue whatsoever. Legacy Nerd says, I heard most of them Saturday. Y'all did a great job out there. Great meeting. Matty B also. Absolutely. Matt's also put the TikTok page on the chat. Give us a follow, please. Give us a follow on TikTok when you get a chance. Maddie, why don't you tell them about our first ever Comic Con after party in a couple of minutes?
Yeah. So we had a relationship with Kung Fu Saloon from the Uvalde event that we had, and how successful that was. And the team over there, Kung Fu, is just so gracious with us. And obviously, they have the Ghostbusters Speakeasy there, the only one in the country. So having us involved, they see the benefit in that, which is really nice. So they allowed us to host a unofficial after party of the Comic Con, and they had the Ghostbusters themed drinks. We had a body painter out there, and it was just a really good time. A lot of people came who were showing up, were saying that they were coming for the Comic Con after party. Making that known and verbal is really good when working with them. We were able to induct 2 new members into the Ghostbusters of San Antonio. So I just want to give a big shout out to Chris and Scott. It's just definitely good to have you guys on board, and we appreciate it. And again, Scott coming in with 1,000 stars sent. So appreciate you there, Scott.
Wow.
Everybody follow Scott's example, okay? Um, but it was an incredible time. We were able to get some content and hang out with the group, and kind of we were in celebration mode. That's for sure. I tied one on. I know Ted tied a little bit of one on because we were. This is just during the time that everything is blowing up. We had already planned to do like a show from there. That didn't happen, but we were able to get some content from there, and again pack out the Kung Fu Saloon and show them that we're valuable to come out there, and it's good to associate with the cosplay groups in your area. So it was all around an incredible event. I'd say there's probably because it's not that big of a place. I'd say there's probably 125 to 150 people there, and it was a really good time. DJ was spinning some tunes.
I think the
Yeah,
real question, though, Maddie, is
Yeah.
did you get a Miller Lite down, Ted?
No. I had no Miller Lite. It was a vodka evening for your boy.
Oh,
And then
nice.
I was mixing too in a bad way because I was doing the whiskey drink. It's the Stay Puft Old Fashioned. And so it's
Okay.
like an old fashioned, but it has a toasted marshmallow on top. And those,
Mike, you would love that, Mike.
Hey, I'm a fan of the old fashioned. A good one is
yeah,
really goes down
yeah,
smooth.
This is
they
the
were
best one. This is the best one you'll ever have. It's an old fashioned, extra cinnamon, um, orange wedge, a toasted, like a flame toasted marshmallow, and a
Nice.
blueberry, all in it. It's
Yeah.
incredible. We celebrated with a couple of those on Saturday, and that's all I could do because this was day 3 of the con, and I was only running on like 10 hours of sleep already. So yeah, for the week, I mean, for like the last 3 days. So I was on fumes. I was like dead tired. We still had one more day to go. So yeah, it was rough. But congratulations to Chris and Scott. If you don't know the Ghostbusters of San Antonio or SATX, follow them on Facebook. It's a great organization. It's a nonprofit. It's not one of those nonprofits where like they tell you they're nonprofit, but they're all like taking salaries. Like we don't pay ourselves for anything, and we don't like stash money anywhere. Everything we do is given to us through donations to charities. Like you give a donation to our charities, and we say, okay, cool. What do you want to do? That's kind of how it works. But we do school visits, cancer research center visits. We've done parades in the past. We had a team go to Uvalde not too long ago to meet with families and just bring some sort of cheer and positivity to that community. So we do a lot. We're gonna do a lot more. We only want our group to grow. We only want to sort of make a major difference in any way we can, and we're gonna do it wearing flight suits and proton packs and dancing the Ghostbusters shuffle because it's the only way to do it. So,
Well,
for
you
more
know me,
information,
Teddy. Everybody wears flight suits but you. You wear the onesie.
I wear the onesie. If anybody wants more information on how you can partner up with the Ghostbusters of SATX, go to the Facebook page, Ghostbusters of SATX. There's an email for them. Um, there's an email for them, and the leader, his name is Rob. Email him. He'll reach out to you. He's going to be slightly upset with me for making us so busy, but he knows in the long run that it's always for a great cause. So, a lot to talk about in a later stream this week with Matt and me. We'll talk about the events that are coming up, but we got a movie to talk about, gentlemen. How about we do that?
Yeah, how
Let's do
about
it.
sponsored by the Geekcast store. Go over to Redbubble at the Countdown City Geekcast store. What's the URL, Ted?
we're
I
gonna have
wasn't
a really
prepared. I
nice
gotta find that
graphic. I
now.
promise you, it's gonna look really cool when we do this next time.
Here we go. Here we go. The Geekcast store. Go ahead and give that intro again, Matt.
Boom.
Ladies and gentlemen, now introducing the Countdown City Geekcast store, where you can show your support, show your fashion sense, show your fandom, and dip into a little pool I like to call nostalgia. We have our classic Countdown City Geekcast tee. We have the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Cowabunga tee. We have the one I'm wearing right now, the Starcast, the Geekcast t-shirt. We have the Miami Retro Summertime logo, whatever that one is. I love that one too. The Hulk Hogan, Geekcasters, Stranger Things. Show your support for the boys so we can afford to go to more Comic Cons and break more news and break the internet again. And that's it.
I like it.
I'm actually I've ordered the Ninja Turtles one. I've ordered the Ghostbusters one. Which let me zoom in on this one because I love this one. This is our real Geekcasters T-shirts. I think I got mine. I think I got mine in just this regular blue one, so I love it. There you go. There it is, right there.
and the
And
and the
for
print comes out incredible. It looks great.
absolutely, I got my daughter also got her a hoodie, and Jericho also got the Ninja Turtles shirt. For limited time, get our classic T-shirt, Ninja Turtles T-shirt on discount for limited time only.
Whoop,
All
whoop.
right, now let's talk
Shameless
about a
plug.
little. Now let's talk about a little movie called Prey. And Legacy Nerd still in the chat says, "I told you to give it a day." You did, sir. You absolutely did. Rob says the pink proton pack belonged to the wife of Josh Miner. He is from Odessa, Texas. Ghostbusters group, and they did. They won third place in the family cosplay contest this weekend. We said that Ghostbusters were going to be flocking from all over the state. Odessa's probably the furthest that anybody came. Congratulations to them. And Rudy's in the chat. Sup, Rudy? And Rob says he loves the shirts. Well, appreciate it, Rob. All right. This is going to start out how we always start out our movie reviews with our non-spoiler overview. So you don't have to turn off the stream yet. Joe, I'm going to start with you, man. I want you to give us your non-spoiler overview of the movie Prey, which you can now find on Hulu. And if you don't know what we're talking about, it's the most recent Predator movie in the Predator franchise. Go ahead, Joe.
Non-spoiler, I thought it was a really well done film. You know, even so much so that it rivals the original. And to me, it was something that I really appreciated because I am part Native American as well. So it was great to see the Native nation represented. It kind of makes you feel like, hey, you have somebody that's part of your heritage up there on the screen. Beyond that, the film was beautifully shot. I like the cinematography, and I even like the way that this Predator was portrayed out there on the screen. And I particularly enjoyed the pacing. I know a lot of people say that the film was a slow burn. It was kind of a slow build, and at the end you have this climax. But to me, it was enjoyable all the way through. To me, it kind of reminded me of some of these video games that you play that have an incredible story that goes along with the action in the game itself. This felt like it was like almost a really good take on a video game story, so to speak, with the way that it was shot and the different angles and whatnot that you have there. To me, it was a really good movie, and it's become one of the most watched um, premieres on Hulu of all time, including the film and even TV series debuts. So just to go to show you that the fan base for the Predator movies is really out there. And this one, this particular movie, Prey, they knocked it out of the park. If you haven't seen it, you need to go and watch it. I've already watched it twice. Enjoyed watching it both times.
Well said, sir. Well said. Mike, how about you, sir? Give us your non-spoiler overview of
Uh,
Prey.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna agree with a lot of what Joe said. It was a great movie. I like the idea because if you've seen some of the previous Predator sequels and stuff, they try to get kind of over the top with new technology because the Predator has that certain technology, right? That humans at whatever time can't really compete with, but they try to do that. They try to make in previous sequels, man have a little bit more at their disposal. But this idea of just being like out there, the 1700s on the natives. Um, it was really cool to see that, and also like with what Joe was saying, that native representation, they were represented very well, right? It wasn't things you've seen in the past, maybe going back to the 80s and 90s of these kind of stereotypical Native American. It was a very well done. I think the way they were portrayed, um, and I don't know if this is a spoiler so much, but given the name of the movie, I liked different times where they were kind of showing you nature, and they would have like an animal, and then the animal that was going after it, and then maybe another animal, kind of in the wild. I thought that was really cool, connecting it to the name of the movie. I don't think it's really a spoiler. It's just different scenes as you were kind of going through. Um, but yeah, really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed the main actress in there, along with the
Amber
other
Mid Thunder.
Aber Thunder, right? Along with the other people that were kind of important in the story with her. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. Wouldn't mind watching it again soon. Um, yeah.
Alrighty, appreciate it. Matty B, how about you, sir? Your non-spoiler overview on Prey.
Yeah, I was really excited coming into this movie, not because I'm a big Predator fan per se. I liked the first movie; it was good, but I really liked 10 Cloverfield Lane. And knowing that this director was coming in to direct this movie was really great. And I can say that he does change up some of his style throughout the movie. I also like what this being a prequel and kind of taking it back. I like the idea that the world's a little bit smaller. In the first Predator movie, it was just some Marines in the woods, and there just happened to be something, more dangerous than them out there, and that's kind of what it was. It was simple like that, and it was suspenseful, and it was thrilling. I would say that they brought that vibe back with this one here.
Well said, well said. And I'm going to also agree that Dan Trachtenberg, who's the director of this movie, also did 10 Cloverfield Lane. If you've been watching the show for years, you know how I feel about the Cloverfield franchise.
I love
I'm
it.
still waiting for it to reach its potential, but I'm gonna live and die Cloverfield, ride or die Cloverfield all the way, baby. So what I gotta say about Prey? I was curious on how they were going to make this work, because of course you jump to the first assumption: what do uh, Native Americans, the Comanche tribe, how would they ever be able to survive against an alien species with advanced technology? That's sort of the first thing you sort of lead with. And so, what's the concept going to be? How are they going to make this work? I'm letting you know everything they decide to do worked, and it worked beautifully. It's wonderfully shot. It's paced extremely well. I don't think it's a slow burn at all. I think that you understand what it's building towards. I think the action like gets going like right after the first act. It's two solid acts of action, if you ask me.
Hmm.
And like any good Predator movie, you have not iconic, but you have some really badass, amazing Predator moments. That's sort of the staple of a Predator movie. If you forget to do those things, you have made a forgettable movie. This one did not. And so I really appreciated it. It was refreshing. We're going to talk about it now thoroughly. If you haven't seen it, this is the part where you pause the movie. We don't want to spoil it for you, so if you want to, pause the movie, come back after you've done seeing it. It's on Hulu. There's two versions. Before you go anywhere, there's two versions. You can watch the normal English version, or you can actually watch the Comanche language dubbed version, and I'll talk about that one in a second.
That's
And
why I watched it twice.
when you watch it, you want to pay close attention to the end of the credits. It's not a big glorious end credit scene like you've normally been used to with Marvel or potentially DC, but it's subtle, and I feel like it's worth a watch. So Thank you for everybody who's joined us so far. If you're leaving now, our non-spoiler part is over. From here on out, spoiler territory for the Prey movie. All
But come
right,
back and watch this after you watch the movie.
come back and watch this after you're done, and let us know what you think. If you have seen the movie, the chat is yours. Rob says, "I am out. Can't wait to see Prey." Take it easy, Rob. Have a great night, man.
And Rudy in the chat with another 1,000 stars.
Oh
Look at
my
Whoa!
this.
God! Look at these
Myland.
guys.
Thank you, thank you.
Woo!
Nice.
We need to have something like, we need to get a reaction, have something, somebody gives us some love, got
Yeah.
to show that on screen.
Hey,
Like a little celebration, like a
Yeah,
party.
celebration
Yeah.
of some kind. Yeah,
We'll work that in. I'll work on that. You gave me a good idea, Joe.
I got it. I got you guys. I'll send you
appreciate you,
something, Maddie.
brother.
Me and Maddie will
Yeah.
work on something in secret. We won't show you yet, Ted.
Yeah.
I'm actually worried when you guys finally decide to put your heads together. Like, what's gonna come out of that?
It's gonna be a dancing can of Miller Lite.
You haven't,
Yeah. It's gonna be a hangover. What are you talking about?
you haven't, you haven't figured out. I've been keeping y'all separate like this entire time. When y'all finally decide to do something, it's gonna be like Magneto and Thanos coming together, and we're
Wonder
all
Twin
screwed.
powers activate.
They'll probably be twerking on screen or something, dude. But
Yeah.
That's
it'll
exactly
be
what's
dope.
gonna happen.
It'll
That'll be the
dope.
first thing.
Or I can go
Alrighty.
ahead and make a funny gif of Jericho since he's not here right now. So.
Ooh, I have an idea for you. Remind me to tell you about it later. Cool. This is going to be our non-spoiler portion of the review. We're talking about the movie Prey.
Spoiler.
I'm sorry, spoiler.
Yeah.
Spoiler portion of the movie Prey. Rob says it's Miller time. Dancing can across the screen.
I love
love
that.
that.
That's a great idea.
That- when you say it like that, it works out better. All right, spoiler portion of our review for the movie Prey. I'm going to start out with the Comanche dub version. I wanted to stick with it. I really wanted to. Unfortunately, for me, like 20 minutes in, it got distracting because it didn't match the movement of the mouths. So I had to stop. If had it been, I think, voiced in the Comanche language with the English subtitles instead, I think it would have been totally fine. But for whatever reason, it was too distracting. So like
It
20,
didn't have
25
English
minutes.
subtitles for it?
It did, but
Oh, okay.
they're still speaking
Right,
English.
yeah. Oh,
Like the movements of their mouths are in
yeah,
English, not
course.
in Comanche.
It's
So
dubbed, yeah.
it was weird. Had it been like Apocalypto, right, where they were actually speaking in the language and you still get the subtitles, I think it would have been totally fine. Plus, kind of like I don't want to be reading the entire time. It felt like there were so many great details in this movie, cinematic wise. The shots were gorgeous. There was so much of like silent just scenes where they're walking through the forest. There's these beautiful scenery around them. Like you just didn't want to take your eyes off of it. So I think we can just start with the first act, the setup. We meet, is it Naru, right? Naru?
Mhm.
We meet Naru and we find out, she's really trying to sort of find herself and, show value to the tribe. There's this sort of test that they all go through, and she's trying to finally accomplish it to prove herself that she's a hunter, like all the men in her tribe. And I guess it's sort of familiar story that we've heard before in sort of other stories. But she kind of is the first one to see that there's something else out there, and she wants to prove to everybody that it's out there. I guess to sort of she kind of wants to take it on herself without knowing what it is, but she knows it's dangerous. And so it kind of goes on from there. I did like the the subtle hints at what was coming. Like you don't wait long to see the predator. Everybody says it's a slow burn, but I'm like, we probably saw him 10 or 12 minutes into the movie, like skinning a snake. And I'm like, that's not a slow burn. That tells me like we're moving things along here. I thought the special effects were great. The action scenes were great. The violence, the fight scenes were great. I mentioned earlier that you have to have like sort of epic predator moments. Usually they're kills, I remember in Predator 2, he throws like this flying disc that's like a saw, and they're in this like meat packing facility, and this saw is like flying through these like chunks of like beef, these cows that are being held up by their hind legs, and it takes out, is it Gary Busey that he kills in that moment?
I think so. Yeah.
Gary Busey's
Yeah.
like, I'm gonna kill it, and then the saw just goes through like 4 dead cow carcasses and cuts Gary Busey in half. And I'm like, that's an epic moment. You had a few of those in here. One of my favorites, he takes his like shields, like Cap's shield, but it like detracts and retracts into like a spiral, and he puts it into a tree, and then when he like wields it and opens it, it cuts this dude's head off and the tree, and he just kind of like shakes his head like he knew it was a badass kill. Like he's like, ugh, like he just flexes for a second after that. This movie had so many great moments. I'm gonna name a few more, but I want to give everybody else a chance. Joe, why don't you talk to us about what you liked about the film?
Well, one of the things I think goes unspoken is there's a correlation between the Native Americans and also the way that the predator hunts. It's almost a similar style where they rely mostly on tracking, and also it's almost this harmonious uh, kind of vibe that they have with their surroundings in nature. In particular, like everything talks to you, when you're out there, and they're looking for the subtle signs, and their hunts, and in the way that they stalk their prey. I think there was a real good correlation there, showing that, which I really enjoyed. It was subtle, but if you really watch the film and go back and check it out, you're going to see that contrast in the styles. The other thing I liked is I like the way that they had the fur traders kind of um, the way that they were portrayed, and the way that they came in, because you're in one of the scenes, you come out to this field where they show Amber Midthunder, her character in the film. She comes out into this open field, probably like and it's like a meadow, and she's just seeing a bunch of dead buffalo. And
Yeah.
and when you're looking at this and you're seeing the buzzards and everything flying around, you're thinking that they maybe were just slaughtered for sport by the predator. But upon closer inspection, she starts to notice that there's a bullet casing and there's holes, and these buffalo have been skinned. So she says a little prayer, for the one of the buffalo, and puts like a little flower on there. And then again, the predator comes by, and he's just kind of looking and seeing what's going on and tracking her and picking up even the detail of him picking up the flower that she just put down, like she's being stalked. I thought was a good touch, and a way to kind of introduce that there is another threat. So that's the cool thing about the way that way prey was portrayed, is that there's multiple threats. It's not just the predator you got to worry about, it's the other humans that you got to worry about as well, which were these fur traders. And they kind of made a nod to them as well in the beginning, where you're seeing these iron traps that are being put out throughout the forest. It's kind of a subtle, hey, there's something else out here, not just the predator. And the way that they introduced the predator initially, I thought was well done, something different, where you show Amber Midthunder hunting an elk with her dog, and you just hear rumbles of thunder, and you keep hearing the rumbles of thunder, and you kind of, from the audience perspective, that this means that there's a ship or something breaking the sound barrier. And she goes out to check it out, and then sure enough, you kind of just see a ship in the clouds kind of moving almost like a thunderbird. So I like the whole way that the movie was done, uh, kind of showing these different threats, but also showing a family dynamic, where they have this inner workings of the way the tribe is working. Everybody has a job to do. They're showing the women, kind of even working with the fur, and taking off the flesh from there, because they're skinning the furs and that, so they can be used by the tribe, and working in the teepees and all that kind of stuff. And Amber's dynamic in the whole thing, where she kind of wants to be out there and be a hunter, because they keep telling her, like you said, that she can't be, and her trying to always prove everything, not only to her tribe but also to her brother. She wants that acceptance from him, that she's as equal as a hunter as he is. And I just loved it, man. I liked everything, even the dog. I was like, please don't kill that dog,
I'm
man.
so
If they
glad the
do
dog.
that,
It's
I'm
very
gonna lose
glad.
it. No, good thing that they didn't do anything to the dog. If nothing else, he was another tool. So I just enjoyed it all. I enjoyed it from the beginning all the way to the end. It was just it was a wild ride, and even what they did with the animals. No animals were hurt in the making of the film because they were all CGI. But it wasn't like it was horribly done. It
Yeah.
was
No,
good,
so
and
good.
it was the way that they were able to do that. I'm sure that people who are big time animal lovers like myself will appreciate that they didn't use real animals. So I'm sure that's gonna appease PETA, as well. So it's just overall just a good film, man. It was something that I think really deserved a theatrical release,
Oh
and
my
you want
god.
to see a second part to this, no doubt. I mean, if the film has done this good on Hulu, you're going to want to see a continuation of what happens next. So even the gun I thought was a good nod to, again, Predator 2. What did you see at the end of Predator 2? He pulls out that gun, that flintlock, and kind of gives it, to Danny Glover. And again, that gun, you saw where it came from, so nice nod there. Nice nod. Predator 2
Crazy
was not
nut.
my favorite film. I'll put it like that in the Predator franchise, but it still had a part to play.
I have a I have real quick just to
Yeah.
piggyback on the thing. Like the traps were weird, and I'm just like, that's a great little plot twist because you're like, well, you definitely know the tribe isn't leaving these around, and you're wondering like, predator leaving traps
Yeah.
around the woods. I'm like, I'll go with it if they can explain it well, but no, it's a great payoff. You're like, they're not the only ones out here, and it's a great twist. It brings in more body count for the predator, like bringing in these Frenchmen. It was a fantastic thing. And also, you mentioned Predator 2, and I kind of want to just quickly spit this out, and then we can get past it. I feel like somewhere in the late 80s, early 90s, there was this weird, like, this weird sort of thing where you had to put like monsters into cities. So yeah, Predator went to like New York, Jason went to Manhattan, dinosaurs went to California, Jurassic
Mm.
Park 2 or 3, I think it was 3 in that one.
It was
So it
2.
was
It was
I
two.
think
Yeah.
like there you go. I think like there's this weird time where like we were so obsessed with seeing what would happen when we take the dangerous serial killer or the dangerous
Monster.
antagonist and throw him in like a big city setting and see what would happen. So I'm glad we got past that. It was a really weird time. None of those movies worked out very well for. But yeah, no, that's great. Mike, what about you, sir? Name some of the things you liked about the movie.
Well, one of the things I liked at the beginning, like the first time that the Predator and Naru's character kind of meet. One of the things with the Predator is that it always wants to hunt like the toughest, biggest game on whatever planet it goes to. And I know there was that one Predators with Topher Grace, and that wasn't
Oh
like
God.
it wasn't as bad as
They had
some of the other
Lawrence
ones.
Fishburne in that one
Lawrence
too.
Fishburne, yeah, yeah. But the whole idea is, and so the first time it sees her, it kind of ignores her because like she had fallen to the ground or something, and it's
She was
like
stuck
this
in the
is,
trap.
or yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. It's like this
she
is
was
not a threat
snared.
to me at all. I'm not going to mess with it. It's not. It's beneath me.
No, it was
Uh,
because I think it was not an honorable kill because she
right.
was
That's what
stuck
I
in the
mean.
trap. Yeah.
Like it wasn't a big thing that I'm hunting. That's a threat to me. And then of course the irony of that coming back to do that. But the other thing that I really like is the bear scene
Oh,
where
Yeah.
the bear's chasing her, all that. She dives into that little dam of stuff, and then the predator bear fight. Because again, the predator is not obviously, it's not a T-1000 or was it T-1000. It's not you know undefeatable. That bear really took it to him for a while, of all things, when it was fighting it. Before he finally came back and took out the bear. But like, that was a whole great sequence of the bear going after her, going after the dog saving her for a minute, and then eventually, the bear winds up fighting the predator, and I really enjoyed that part. Um, and even the other hunter, the male hunters of her tribe, most of them weren't really giving her much credit for anything. Her brother was trying, right? He was like, "I believe in you, but like it's too much." But then he even tells her afterwards. Oh, that was the other thing. When they first said lion, I was like, they can't mean a lion lion. This is the America. This is America. I was like, so I assumed they meant
How?
mountain lion, but I was like, well, and it was, of course. But he tells her after they wind up killing her, she gets knocked out because she falls. He's like, actually, I wouldn't have killed him if you hadn't have stuck him first, and then I literally did what
Weakened him.
you said. Yeah, wounded him, and then so yeah, there were a lot of little things I liked in there. And then, like I said, being prey and being about hunting, they just kept showing, especially out in nature, like the different animals. They would show the rabbit. They showed it being hunted by the wolf
Yeah.
or whatever, and then they would show like a bug, and then the bird that would come to get it, and the bigger thing. So I just like those little visuals that they kind of threw in there as the movie was going along.
The
One of the
prey
cool things you
thing
just
going
mentioned too,
throughout.
Mike, is
Mhm.
during that scene with the lion, uh, when she was out there on the tree on that limb with
Yeah.
the, trying to go ahead and kill this lion with the spear. One of the cool things that they added was an effect. It was that little eye shine. And when you're out there, in
Mm,
the wild or you're hunting or anything, that when you're trying to look for your prey and you shine a light, that you're going to be able to see that eye shine, especially like from a big cat,
yeah.
or any type of other animal, deers, for example, like that. They all have different colors, because they're, have the meat eaters, which
Right.
are going to attack the deer and whatnot, kind of like a lion. So that eye shine moment to me was a cool little, detail that I thought
Yeah.
was really cool, man.
Yeah. The
Um,
visuals were great all the way through.
Great, yeah. And like you were saying, even though, like you said, you're seeing all this, it's emphasizing again and again. The movie's called Prey for a reason.
Yeah.
The animals going after each other, and the predator just there, kind of stalking everybody else too. Like he even killed that bear. Like I'm sure
Mhm.
you remember that moment as well. And just picking up that bear with all that
Yes.
blood just spewing all over him was kind of like the big reveal, kind of a first look at this, what they call him, the feral predator, Ted.
That's what they're saying. Yeah, it's the first time I've heard that actually.
Yeah, me too. Because they have different factions of predator. We've never seen their home world, but we know that there's different races of predator, and they're all at war with one another. They don't like each other, so even they hunt each other.
I don't know the lore as much. I just remember from the last one that they had created these like oversized slaves, and these slaves are now like taking over because they got tired of being pushed around, and they're like twice as big. So yeah, that happens. Matty B, bring us home, man. Why don't you let us know what you really liked about the movie?
Yeah, a lot. I agree, obviously, a lot with Big Mike and Joe because we all like the movie. But
Yep.
to piggyback on kind of what Joe was going on in the Native American themes, that's why I really love this actress in this movie and how her story was paced to this movie. Because in real life, back in the day, the young men would have to go on like trials or a ritual to become a man, to become a hunter, to become respected. And she felt like that was in her, and her she wouldn't give it up even though they kept telling her, they kind of bullied her around a little bit about it. And she's over here practicing when she attaches the rope to the tomahawk, and is able to sort of refine her skills throughout the movie. This whole movie was her ritual, and at the end, when she's able to conquer the predator and save the tribe, she earned her place that she wanted, and got that respect. I love the way that story was told. I like that there wasn't a lot of lore involved with it. It was a very, very simple story. There was nothing crazy. It was just simple, easy. It hit the marks. Predator showed that I mean, we got great Predator moments and some awesome and insane kills. But in that moment when she was caught in the quicksand, and she like it's taken her a little while, and she finally gets out
Yeah.
of it.
Mm.
And you could see her journey also taking place in the eyes of the predator. I love how they played that as well. He would see her and not kill her. He would see her and not do anything because he didn't see her as a threat. And she could have just gotten away like that. But no, she wants to be a warrior. She started to realize that he hunts that way and took offense to the fact that he didn't see her as a threat and wanted to come back and avenge that. I thought that whole sequence was great. I thought it was an incredible movie.
Yeah, some
I
of the things that
was
she. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Ted.
always I was always trying to figure out, because again, this was a predator versus someone back in the 1700s. So in my head, I was like, what's the not the catch? Um, how did they
What?
how did they how did they break the story? What's the way that she comes around to figuring this out? There's one key element. They introduced it early into the film, but in my head it was always going to be how Schwarzenegger did it,
Yeah,
where he's crawling out of like
mud.
the stream or something. He's covered in mud. He's like, come on, or whatever, and Predator doesn't see him, so he kind of it clicks finally. When she went to the quicksand, I'm like, oh, there you go.
Mhm.
From here on out, she'll be covered in mud, totally invisible. I figured out the movie. Ha 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 ha. No, I'm an idiot. So, of course, they introduced at the beginning of the film. She's using this remedy, which is these orange petals from a flower, and it helps to cool a person's blood. She said it outright, like cools
Yeah,
person's blood, and of course, that's going to be the thing that helps. So that helps to make her nearly invisible to the predator. And I do like Joe said that they call it a feral. I do like that there is a it differentiates. They're not as advanced as the ones that we saw in the original film going forward. So yeah, take the technology back just a step. But I'm sure they advanced it like not too long afterwards. But it's a great idea. It's a great concept. They made it work. They made it work. There really shouldn't be any sort of criticisms or pushback with the way they did it, because I feel like everything took care of itself and was done seamlessly. I'm not saying it's the greatest movie of all time, of course.
yeah,
What I mean is there's no major holes in this film. I feel like it was all done extremely well. And like I mentioned, the traps, how she was going to survive, being somewhat stealthy to this alien species, all those things kept me guessing and wondering, which kept me engaged in the film. And then on top of that, we get all these badass predator kills. Um, we even got the throwback to the bomb. Like that thing always comes back. Has that been in every single movie? I feel like that might be the
I feel
one.
like everyone I've seen.
It has a
It's
different
it's got to
variation of
be
the
it.
bomb.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Everybody has, but at least everybody.
It's always great.
Somebody in the chat look this up. Have we always had? Let's call it the gauntlet bomb. I don't know what it's called, but let's call it the gauntlet bomb. The countdown gauntlet bomb, and this one was different. Talk about like these were weird. It's almost like
yeah.
a pipe bomb with spinning discs with teeth. Don't know, but it was cool. And so yeah, so much to like, so many interesting ideas and concepts to like. I won't tell you it's better than the original. I
I
think the
will.
original I think the original has a bigger concept that kind of always keeps it up there. And this movie, though, it's a huge step in the right direction. I want to see what comes next down this timeline, and I want the stakes to be raised and the idea to be bigger, because that would lead us to the most epic and perfect Predator movie.
One of
Uh,
the things I wanted to say quick, Ted, is that
Go for it.
concoction that she was making out of the flower petals, she also mixed in a piece of a mushroom to activate it as well. But one of the things
Ooh.
that took me back to is when I used to get sick when I was a kid, my mom would take me to my grandma, and my grandma would make this god awful tea using some herbs and stuff she used to grow in the backyard, and it would come out like a pink color. And dude, it tasted so horrible, but if you drank it, you actually, no matter how sick you felt better the next day. So I was watching that, and it kind of reminded me of that, and I was just like, oh, I can already taste the bitterness of that flower, just imagining what that must taste like you know
Yeah, absolutely.
just want to add two quick things, especially when you were talking about. There are people online like, "Oh, how did these primitive Native Americans defeat a predator when the original movie had Marines and stuff?" But also, like we were talking about, so you have to use the stealth, the way they hunted. but also she used his technology against him.
Yes.
Which after she knocked the helmet off, and that was a big blow. Obviously, it wasn't the final blow, but I think it was like a big one that
That
really
was the one that when
was it.
she,
Was okay? Was it the final?
yeah,
I'm trying to remember exactly, but because the Predator also famous for the three red dots, the lasers that locks onto you.
tracking.
Yeah, and then she knocked off that helmet and used it against him. So that was obviously a big advantage to help her out there at the end. But also one other thing, as I am the resident WrestleCaster, former WWE or WWF superstar Shane Hurricane Helms, who many of you may remember from the Attitude Era as the Hurricane, is a huge, obvious nerd, Marvel comic, all that kind of stuff, which is why he became the Hurricane. He mentioned something that I kind of agree with and I thought was interesting. He said this was a great movie. He won't put it better than the original because the original had to set all these things that these movies and sequels now use. The being colder than the temperature to deactivate the
Disguise
heat engine
yourself.
or to
Yeah.
do right, all that kind of stuff. They had to do that originally in that first movie to set that tone, and now those are the things that keep getting brought back and used. And it's a good point. Like when you're talking about Arnold covering him in the mud. Also, didn't Arnold wind up using a bow and arrow as opposed to all his big? Well, he put a grenade on it or something, right? But he kind of went back to a kind of a primitive weapon at the end because none of the guns were working.
He did all kinds of things. He tried to set
Yeah,
traps. Yeah.
right,
And some of them worked, some of them didn't. But
right.
yeah, he went all out, tried to use every survival tactic
Yeah.
he could come up with, and ultimately it just came down to Predator throwing the big middle finger and taking himself out.
Well, he got him with that big log that he put in
Oh
the
yeah,
tree.
that one too.
That was
He
the
did
one
get
that
him, and
kind
then
of
he's
got
just
him
like, "Well, this is
surprised.
it. See you, sucker."
Yeah, he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna go out. I'm gonna take myself out and take you with me." So
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the era that they started this with too. Um, Being in the just kind of right before the 1800s. This is almost like right before the cowboy era. And so it would be really cool in the next movie if maybe we could get her.
Oh
Maybe she has
man,
to. It's like a Tombstones type setting, but
Ooh.
she has to save this cowboy town, and they think they're all rough, tough, and that whatever. And then the predator comes in and starts to take them out, and she has to like help to save the. I just love the time era that they're in. They could go a lot of different ways with it.
yeah, even the utilization of their tools, their weapons, there was no steel in any of the Native American weapons. They were all made out of flint or rock.
yeah.
Even the axe was made out of rock. Even the rope that she was using, they even showed how she made that
Yeah, she
using
braided the
the
rope.
the bark. Yeah, a bark out of a tree, a young sapling. Because it's more pliable. So it was interesting to see how they really stayed true to that time period. The only people that had working knowledge of metal was going to be the white man. And
Yeah.
that's when they brought their guns and whatnot.
Yeah, and it would be really cool to get some DLC of her character into a fighting game somewhere. Who can Fox
Mm.
or it would be so cool to have a DLC of her in like a Mortal Kombat style game, with the rope and the tomahawk. It would be sick.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
Yeah, she was awesome.
Knowing Fortnite, she'll be in the game
Oh,
next week as a skin you can purchase.
You know
Yeah.
what? Let me give you a quick quiz. What other series or what other show was
Ooh,
Amber Mid Thunder a part of before she even did Prey?
I already
oh,
know this, so I'm
I
not
would
gonna
say I looked
answer.
this up, but I can't remember off the top of my head.
There was a
I know
show I
he
used to
knows.
watch, yeah, on FX.
Legion.
Legion, yeah,
That's right. Yeah,
yeah.
Legion, which I'm ashamed to say I never started because I just never had time.
Dude, it's so good. You need to watch it.
I know I
definitely.
should. Yeah. I'm reluctant to ask, is there anything that really stands out to you that you didn't like? And I already kind of mentioned, like, I feel like there's no major holes in this movie. There's nothing that really was outside of the realm of possibility, and that's what I always look for, is like, can you just keep things simple, keep me engaged, not really do anything that jumps the shark. I mean, I know we're talking about an alien species here, but can you just make sure that there's no massive holes in this thing? And I think I'll be kind of fine with it. I'm not saying there's anything not wrong with it, like there's no flaws, but I felt like I was interested and engaged the entire time throughout. Um, I enjoyed all the tension. I enjoyed the violence because it's a Predator movie. I enjoyed sort of the horror sort of jump scare moments, like when Homeboy was trying to give Naru a hard time at the beginning. He's like, "You're not gonna kill the lion. You're like, you don't belong here." And then Fool gets like
Yeah.
completely tackled. I'm like, "Oh damn, Predator's already going at it." But no, that was the lion. Um, there's nothing in this movie I can tell you that I really didn't like. Anything that really stands out, anything that I would criticize. I would even say make it a little longer. I don't know if you need to because it's pretty fine on its own. Um, see a little bit more of the brother, maybe give brother some more screen time because he was a pretty cool character. Um, no, I think I'm really like kind of cool with it. So I don't know if you guys have anything that really stands out as something that you wish they would have changed or did differently.
No, I'm
No.
kind of with you in the same way. Like, there's nothing so big that it bothered me or took me out of the movie at all. Like it, I'm sure there's little things you could tweak here and there, but no, yeah, I'm good with it.
The
I'll
only thing I would have wanted to see was
What's that?
more than one predator. I think if they would have shown them hunting as a another one hunting in a different maybe area, because when you did see that one glimpse of whatever Amber Midthunder's character, what's her name, Nauru, uh,
Naru.
Naru?
whatever she saw when she was up there in the tree with the lion, it looked like there was more than one, not just the one hunting alone. So I wish if that was the case, we would have seen that. You know.
That's
Yeah,
curious. I don't know if there was more than one. I felt like he landed or he went on foot, and whatever ship he came on
There was more
either.
than one ship.
That's what's interesting. I'm unsure about that.
There
I
was more than
feel
one ship. I heard two distinct sonic booms.
okay. It's not clear, right? It's a
yeah.
possibility.
And then especially with what you talked about as its post credit or mid credit scene, whatever you want to call it, which I didn't see the first time. And then you asked me, and I was like, "Oh, let me go to
You're
YouTube." You're like, "I
welcome.
don't know." I was like, "No, it's on YouTube. It's cool."
There you go.
Yeah.
I had one more thing to say. Again, we've seen a lot of Predator movies. We've seen a lot of sci-fi movies. Give me something new. This is also what I'm looking for. Give me something I haven't seen before. You gave us all these dumb Frenchmen, right? Who are like, we're gonna hunt the predator. What a great idea! Immediately, like three of them get killed without them knowing, and their horses take off, and then the other two that are like watching from a distance get slaughtered. And I'm like, well, that plan went to shit. Part of my French. um, but then this predator falls for the trap, and they dug these trenches that they were hiding. I'm like, holy snap, this is fantastic. So the fact that I didn't see this second sort of trap baited for the predator, and they actually had a decent idea going. They just had no idea what they were up against. I was actually pretty impressed. So the fact that this story had something new, in my opinion, this very elaborate trap set up by these Frenchmen. It wasn't just like, let's put the Comanches out there and he'll just come. Like it
Yeah.
was it was a pretty well thought out plan. They just had no idea what they were up against, and I enjoyed every second of it from that point forward. And it's not because I felt like they deserved to all die. I had no idea who these characters were to begin with, but these were just it was interesting. You felt like this predator had a little bit of a character, um, or a charisma to him. Like he was enjoying these kills. He was enjoying it. It wasn't just sort of cold and no emotion involved with it. Like I mentioned, there was a little bit of flexing every now and then. It was like, yeah,
Mhm.
that one felt good, like, I really wanted that one. It was cool. It was impressive, jumping through the trees and dropping the gauntlet bomb on them and all that stuff. I was impressed by so many new things they gave to the audience when we've already had I want to say six other Predator films.
Are you
No,
including the ones with aliens?
I am.
Okay. I don't know. There's been quite a few now.
There's the original two. There's two AVPs, and then there was Predators, and I feel like there was another one which was the Predator, and then
Was
this would be number
Predators that one that was like they all just got dropped on that planet and there's a bunch of
with
that's what
with
we were talking
Adrian
about?
Brody.
Yeah,
That's the
right.
one.
That's what I
Yeah.
was talking about. And then the one you were talking about, the last one was with Olivia Munn, right? And then the kid or something.
Yeah, which that one seemed like it had everything going for it,
Yeah,
you
it
know?
was
Like
so. That one, yeah.
great cast. Um Only problem is they sort of went with the standard trope like how do we make a sequel? Well, I know, let's make the bad guy bigger and scarier. Like no, you can't do that. You can't have a bigger, badder
And
T-Rex. That's
didn't
what
it end
Jurassic
with
Park
like
tried to do.
the humans were getting a predator suit or something, or they had or something
They came out with the mech suit
or
and
something, right?
supposed to be the mech suit, and that
And that's what I
was
was
gonna
talking about.
lead
Like
to the
they,
sequel.
yeah, they tried to make the humans equal in technology, which is why I think this movie was done so well with the opposite of that. So
Right?
yeah,
How crazy of a concept. They try to go like all the way in the other direction. We're going to go high tech. We're going to go all these big weapons, big, strong, muscly guys. And the Predator's going to be 12 feet tall. And he's going to be invincible. And he's going to like kick the crap out of little predators who are the original ones that we saw before. Like that's when you throw so many ideas to the wall and eventually you just overwhelm the audience and you're just like this is too
And
much.
don't forget the
You
Predator
can't.
dog as well.
Oh, the Predator
oh
dog.
yeah, good
That's
call.
right.
Yeah, man. That was
that's when
wild.
you that's when you can overwhelm an audience with too many ideas. What happened with the last one? It's clear as day. You're just like this is too ridiculous. You can
Yeah,
only take little steps along the way. We talk about this all the time with movies,
yeah.
usually DC movies. But
Well, you said it.
well, this is the part of the show where we give you our Geekcast rating. If you're still with us, if you've watched the movie, we also want to hear from you. Scale is 1 to 5, 1 being the last Predator movie, and 5 being the original Predator movie. I still have a warm place in my heart for those Alien versus Predator movies. It's really like one of the first crossovers we've ever had. Am I wrong?
Mm,
Uh, was Jason versus Freddy before that?
Oof, I think it might have been. That's
I think it
probably where they
was. I
got
remember
the
seeing
idea.
that. Yeah, I'm
yeah,
sure it was.
Jason. Yeah,
We'll look that up. But I still have, like I said, an affinity for those movies. So let's go around. Let's give you our Geekcast rating. Maddie B, I'm gonna start with you, man. What is your Geekcast score for Prey?
I'm gonna go 4.8. I think it
Oh
was. I think it
man,
was. I think it was great. But it's hard on that scale because is it the best movie ever? No.
no.
But did it do everything that it was supposed to do? Was it entertaining? Could I find one problem with it? No. I mean, it has to be ranked that high for me. I think I'd go 4.8.
Yeah, people when we do this, I always say there's two ways to score. It's like are you scoring based on their intention or are you scoring based on comparison to what else has been out there? Yeah, I'm not going to tell you how to do it. Everybody does it differently. Joe, what is your Geekcast rating for Prey?
I'm probably gonna get a higher rating because you know how I am with films. Mostly,
No, you're the hardest critic out of
yeah,
all of
I
us,
really
Joe.
don't like a lot of them, but this one was well done. I'd have to give it a solid 4.5, only because I think the original was still the staple, even though this one is its rival, no doubt. But in all fairness, I'm gonna give it a 4.5. Solid
I
movie.
don't know. I don't know if you heard what Matt did. Matt said 4.8.
Yeah, I gotta do 4.5. I'm just saying.
Okay. No, you said you were gonna go higher. I was like, what? Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
I
not
think
higher
higher for
than
his
him, but
usual
higher
score.
than what I
Yeah.
usually give.
Oh, that's what you meant. Gotcha,
Yeah,
gotcha, gotcha.
because
Big
usually I
Mike,
give him a low rating. I'm honest. I keep it real.
you do keep it real, real low. Mike, Mike, what about you, man?
I think I'm actually going to match Joe here with the 4.5. It was again, it was a really great movie. Kind of like when we do the WrestleCast, I try to save five for something that's like I feel like it's really going to make an impact or change things. This is really good. Whether you have nostalgia for that first one, or you just really do like the first one a little bit better. I think that's up to personal preference. But it was really solid. Like it was a great movie. Um, like I said, I refrain from trying to get out fives too much, but it was up there.
4.5 for Mike. And it just comes down to me. And you guys are making me second guess what I was going to do, but I know I
Just
really
do
should
it, Ted.
just stick to what I was going to do. So I'm giving this movie a solid, okay? A solid 4. And if you ask me, that is a solid
Wow.
film. That is a very positive film. And it just goes to show me and whoever's watching this right now, it is a solid step in the right direction. I feel like there's at least a sequel coming from this new iteration. And kind of like how Halloween 2018 was like a solid step in the right direction. I feel like the better film is on the way. Even like the Batman with
Robert
what's his
Pattinson.
face? Robert Pattinson. I felt like it was a good film, a solid attempt, and it's a stepping stone for something that's going to be even better. And I feel like that movie is going to be the perfect Predator film, might even surpass the original. That brings our overall Geekcast rating to a 4.45. Still one of our highest rated movies ever on this show.
This time it
Uh,
was Ted drinking that haterade, man.
not too shabby. It's not a bad score. It's a
No.
1 through 5.
Disappointed, man.
Four is a
Disappointed.
good score. 4 is a good score. You're
You've
hating,
given
Joe.
higher ratings to worse movies, man. I'm just disappointed in you, bro. And you're
You,
drinking green tea, so you
I'm
were not influenced by alcohol.
I'm looking forward to the big thing that's coming next. I like whoever said it earlier. Might have been Matt. Um, do they fast forward 50 years maybe? Um, get into the 1800s, and that's probably when I don't even know if JC was here, the historian. He could probably help us out with this. But whenever like our technology and firearms sort of shifted and accelerated, I don't know when that happened, but clearly, like these guys with these old school muskets isn't going to do anything. So you probably have to up the ante a little bit and
Well, what is
speed
it?
up,
Whenever you start getting those six shooters and the
right?
Colt 45 or whatever,
Yeah.
probably whatever
So,
it was.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's the cowboy era. But
Mhm.
the one thing you would want to avoid in that time frame is just making another Cowboys versus Aliens.
I was thinking that when you said it the first time.
But
Yeah.
I like Cowboys versus Aliens, honestly. So I thought it was a great movie. So I mean, I don't hate that idea. You just don't want to copy it down too
Right.
much. But yeah,
Ooh,
I would love it around there.
but who do you cast as the cowboy? Let's fan cast. We got 4 of us here. I want 4 different answers. I'm giving you some time here. Let's say Dan Trachtenberg, who honestly needs to be hired by WB to do a Superman movie because he's so fantastic. But let's say he wants to do a sequel. Uh, we'll talk about the end credit scene right now, and I'll give you time to think about your cast. End credit scene. At the end of the credits, which is all sort of animated, you see Naru with the tribal staff, war chief Joe, right?
Yeah.
War chief staff that she's holding in the air, and she's a little character drawn on this hide, what it looks like on the screen, and the tribe is over to the side. Well, on the other side of the screen, when the credits end, you sort of see some thunder and lightning, and the clouds come in, and you see 3, not 1, not 2, 3 predator ships come out of those clouds, and the music intensifies, and then it all goes black, which could just mean a teaser for a sequel, or it could be like Zack Snyder's zombie film where like I think it was Zack Snyder's, where at the end of the credits you just find out like nobody survives. I think it was Land of the Dead maybe, or something of the Dead. Um,
Las Vegas of the Dead or something.
no. This is his first movie,
Oh,
like
the
way
old
back
one.
when. The old one with I'm not gonna remember, Mackay Pfeiffer, Ving Rhames.
Mm.
He did one a long time ago where the cast survives. They get onto a boat, sail off to an island. At the end of the credits, they get to the island and it's just covered in zombies, and so they all end up perishing. Like the movie was for nothing. It could be that also message here that you know what, our hero survives, but in the end they all had a tragic fate. We'll see, we'll find out. I think this garners a sequel, but if our theory is correct, if they decide, you know what, we're going to make a sequel but we want to speed up the timeline a little bit, let's get to the 1800s, let's figure out where we can sort of clash with the West. um, Here you're gonna have to have a solid leading cowboy. Matt, I feel like you already got some of the cooking in your head, so let's start with you. Who is your leading cowboy for Predator sequel?
Sharing my screen right now.
Uh-oh.
It's the only choice.
Oh my god.
It's Cole Hauser from Yellowstone.
i
Absolutely.
I can't disagree with that. Crap.
It's definite. There's no other choice.
Oh man, for those of you who don't know who this is, he's one of the main actors on Yellowstone, alongside help me
Kevin
out,
Costner,
Kevin Costner, who's
Luke
fantastic in that
Grimes,
one too. Yeah.
but he's
Um
but he's a tough cowboy.
Man, that's such a great choice. Damn it, Matt. Let's see. Joe, I'll go to you next. If you had to fan cast a leading cowboy, who would you go with?
I got to go with Ron Perlman, man. I mean, why not?
Ooh, god damn it, so many good choices.
The guy can do it all. He can play Hellboy. He can play a cowboy, man.
You
That's a
guys are
great
winning
choice.
at this. No
Yeah.
matter what, you guys are winning. Mike, I don't know if you have anybody, but who would you want to see?
Giancarlo Esposito.
No,
Hey.
That's gonna be Ted's choice. I bet you.
No, you okay, again, I'm gonna think about this as a cowboy and kind of what his character's become, connecting it back to wrestling again. Can you imagine Brock Lesnar as the guy out on the range going up against predators? That's like a fair fight. That's like beast versus beast.
he's definitely got the size.
Yeah.
He's got the size. You would know better than me though if he could really pull off.
Oh, acting itself, I don't. I if you just want like a grumpy cowboy who doesn't like interacting with people, I think he could pull that off. Because from all the talks, like he's not a bad guy, but he has like a ranch out in Wyoming. He literally like butchers his own meat and hunts and doesn't like being around a lot of people. So if you go for that kind of cowboy, like maybe he's off on his own land and then they come and disturb him, so then he's got to do something then. He might be able to pull that off.
Um,
But I'm just thinking of like an actor, like going back to Arnold, like someone who's physically on that same level
yeah,
with the Predator.
I'm smiling ear to ear right now because I got the perfect choice, and he sort of fits the mold of both. He can play cowboy. He can play how Mike said, sort of disgruntled, a little bit of a loner, a lot like the guy from Yellowstone that Matt said. But he also brings a certain gravitas and also a fan appeal along with him. He's one of my favorite actors right now. I'm talking about Tom Hardy. Tom Hardy can do no wrong. I haven't seen him in a cowboy role yet. We've seen him in movies where he sort of played a moonshiner in the 20s or the 30s. That's probably
Yeah,
the closest.
Lawless. Yeah, with Shia LaBeouf.
Lawless, one of my favorite movies of his. Never seen him in a western. I could be wrong if he's done one, but I would like to see him in a western, and I think he would want to do it too because it's one of the things I don't think he's done yet. So give me Tom Hardy versus a predator, and let's see what happens.
Yeah,
Maybe
the closest he
just
got was in the what was the movie with Leonardo DiCaprio? The when he goes against the bear,
The Revenant,
Oh, the
the
Revenant.
Revenant. Yeah,
Revenant. Yeah, so
something
he
like
was
that.
kind of close there. He was still kind of pioneer, but he was definitely kind of a rough and tumble guy. I could see him easily fitting into that role
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
sure.
and before anybody says like, why would you want to replace Amber Mid Thunder with another male leading actor, and I'm like, we're not saying like you have to get rid of her. You can also write her into the story where like maybe they kidnap her. I'm not saying they would want to for any reason, but let's just say they do. They kidnap her, take her off planet for X amount of time. You can explain it away if you need to by saying like you age differently on other planets. Perhaps she's actually aging slower because she's been taken to their planet for some time. And when they return, bring her along. And so she returns 50, 60 years later, not completely the same age, but just maybe 5 or 6 years older at that point, and somehow makes it off a ship and runs into Hardy, who they're gonna speak the same language because they've already sort of established that. But you could create a great story from there. So I'm glad we wrote this movie. Let's put a script together.
Yeah.
Let's get it over to Paramount. Let's make this happen, guys. Come on.
I always
Or
thought
Sony, whoever
a
it
good
is.
cowboy movie would be something that involves cowboys and werewolves, man. Done in the world Wild West. That would be pretty badass to me.
Yeah, I think it would be cool too. Yeah,
That'd be fun.
anything supernatural, and cowboys, because they're all like Protestants, and they it would be a very interesting dynamic to throw the supernatural in
Yeah,
there.
man. Just have the
Get some-
a stagecoach and going out for a little midnight roll, trying to drop off some passengers, and they get attacked by a werewolf, and there's a town of werewolves, and they just find themselves in got to fight for your lives to survive, until daylight. So that'd be pretty badass.
Yeah. Well, that'll do it for this episode of the Countdown City Geekcast. Is this actually put out by Disney?
What?
Yeah,
it,
Hulu.
Well, because it's Hulu, so
it's
Yeah.
streaming Disney Plus worldwide, but it's only streaming Hulu in the
oh
U.S.
wow.
I'm
Yeah,
trying
because
to find. I'm trying to find the studio because I thought I
it's
heard
20th
that is. It is. It's
Century
their
Studios, not
20th Century
20th Century
Studios.
Fox. Yeah.
Right. They
Right.
took the Fox part out, but this is a Disney sort of affiliate now. So
Yeah.
yeah, this is.
Well,
I said Paramount. I misspoke.
Do you
This is
think
a
no,
they bought that?
Disney
Do you think they
production.
bought that
they
along
did
with
buy that.
They
They did
did.
buy
Yeah,
that.
for sure.
like
Yeah.
probably a part of that X-Men when they were
Yeah.
acquiring all that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
There was
Because
other
somewhere
entities.
somebody made the joke that Predator's now a Disney princess. I forgot who said that. Or maybe it was Alien. Alien is now a Disney
Hey,
princess.
if they go ahead and they already have Pandora, right, at Disney World.
Yeah.
Now they
Yeah.
have another, thing that they do, and it's Predator themed. I'm here for it, man.
Hey, I'm down. That'll do it for this episode of the Countdown to the Geekcast. Want to thank Scott for the 1,530 stars. Also want to thank Rudy for the 1,000 stars. You gentlemen are both amazing. Can't wait to hang out with y'all again. Thank you to everybody for watching. Thank you to the world for sharing our story and our panel with Giancarlo Esposito. Um, hopefully, many more breaking news stories to come from the Countdown to the Geekcast. Also, thank you to Celebrity Fan Fest, the PMX organization, Bob, Peggy, the staff, and everybody who attended the Superhero Car Show and Comic Con. All the panel guests, each and every one of you guys. Meant a lot to me, and I know Matt and AJ and Paul for being so gracious with all of us, for allowing us to entertain the attendees, and just being willing to sit down and talk with us. Nobody was rude to us. Nobody was a diva. Nobody was sort of unwilling to speak about anything. We all had a great time. The fans had a great time. We hope to do it again extremely soon. For the Geekcast, my name is Steady. Joining me on the show is the man behind the magic, Joe Garcia.
Yeah, thanks for watching. And if you're enjoying the show, make sure to subscribe, and also go ahead and listen to us wherever you can get all your podcast.
My partner in crime, Maddie B.
Another can crust, another successful day.
Another successful crush of Miller
Yeah.
Lite.
Yeah.
We didn't have them
And
as a sponsor, by the way.
there you
Mhm.
go. And having the WrestleCast stream later on this week from the WrestleCast, one only Big Mike.
What's up, guys? Thanks for letting me be here. And that should be Thursday night, probably about 9:15, 9:30. We will be there. And more news coming out about Vince McMahon and more payments. So,
Oof.
and also WWE getting better without Vince McMahon there. So, lots to talk
Hey,
about.
can't make an omelet without without breaking a few
Breaking some
eggs.
eggs.
Rick Fitz, yeah.
Have a good night, folks. Be
Thanks,
good to
guys.
each other.